That little ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids. It goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got past the rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea and the river, great, wide and deep in our lives would we be. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. In the land of Kaiture's shining splendor, land of the palm tree, the croton and fern, we would possess all the virtues and graces, we all the glory of goodness would learn. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. Born in the land where men sought El Dorado, land of the diamond and bright shining gold, we would build up by our faith, love and labor God's golden city which never grows old. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. Ready? Happy Independence Day!
This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bongolo. Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bongolo. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. Long time got them dirty down, now you got them concrete road. Long time got them dirty down, now you got them concrete road. Long time got them dirty. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bongolo. Long time got them lang loji, now you got them bongolo. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. This ain't a long time, this ain't a long time, this not a before time. Long time got them dirty down, now you got them concrete road. Long time got them dirty down, now you got them concrete road.
Lorraine Henry, Andrea Chester, Lorraine Stephen, Nadira Sukraj, Kathleen Allen, Lisa Edwards, Yasmin Henry, all of you. It's a reparative night. Is reparative? Not reparative. It's a I can't even pronounce it. It's what he said? He said what? He said reparative. It's not a reparative night. It's a Oh my God. Oh my God. On the international scene. Reparafted. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm a proud Guyanese. I'm ashamed of the installed regime. I am a proud Guyanese, but I'm ashamed of the installed regime. I don't know. Come on, you have a speech to make. It's your maiden speech in front of the world. It is one where you are supposed to at least practice. You know, when I was sworn in as a member of parliament, and there was a sheet of paper with the oath of office, and everybody who had to take it before me, whilst they were reading it, I was reading it too. And I ensured I dotted my I's and crossed my T's, so that when my time comes to stand up in front of the mic and read that oath of office, I didn't expect to make no mistakes. And one would have thought that that is exactly what the man would have done. Practice the speech. If somebody write it, we all know that. Nobody don't have to come and tell us that is somebody wrote the speech. We all know all his speeches people write. Somebody writes all his speeches. But oh man, you're going to see a word that you're seeing for the first time in your life, and you're not going to ask them how to pronounce it. You could have asked the person who was sitting there on your right, or you could have asked the two that were sitting at the back. One of them looked as though they were sleeping. I have never been so ashamed of who represented me on the international scenery. Reparative, oh my God. Oh my God. And you know, you got to look at it deeper, you know. You got to really look at it deeper. You got to really look at it deeper. Sandra Jones shared his live stream. Stephen Fortune. Shireen, is it Sharon? Sharon Brown? Oh my God. Today has been a day, you hear me? It has been a real day. And as funny as it is, it's a sour embarrassment as a Guyanese. It is a sour embarrassment to know who we have there and what damage they are doing to our name, the beautiful cooperative Republic of Guyana. But I say to you, my people, that we have to look deeper into the mistake that was made. And I haven't heard many speaking about it. But this this reparative justice that has been spoken of, this reparative justice that is needed, this reparative justice that is a must, is not something that a leader, a president of a country be should not be aware of. Reparative justice is not something a leader, a president installed, albeit, should not be aware of. And you talk about reparation committee, you talk about the need for reparation and all of that. Leaders are supposed, especially Caribbean leaders, are supposed to be au fait with the terminology. But clearly this is the first time this installed man is using this word. So it was never in his interest. It was never in his belly. It was never in himself necessary to speak of, because he never wanted to represent the people who are in search of reparation. And that is something that you got to pay keen attention to. That is something that you have to pay keen attention to. Any leader in the Caribbean that fails to pronounce whether it is reparation or reparative or whatever terminology or word, in its adjective form, in its noun, in its verb, whatever, if you cannot pronounce a word along that line, then it tells that you don't have reparation at heart, the need for reparation. You don't have at heart the need to fight for the people who are in need of reparation. And because it is the first time you're using the word, we don't even believe in the sincerity of your presentation. Because it is the first time you are speaking about reparative justice and you failed an entire nation in getting it right, the sincerity, the authenticity, the sacredness of your statement comes into question. And it is more as though you are trying to beg for something that you don't even believe is necessary. Take that into deep consideration. Because a leader is expected, especially a Caribbean leader. So this one installed, but a Caribbean leader understands the power, understands the definition, and understands the real strength that you seek when you use the word reparation or reparative justice. But we got a man who used it for the first time in his life, and he said reparative, oh my, I can't even, like I Guyana, I don't know where we're going. I really don't know where we're going. But we have to recognize that this is the individual we have been talking about for the longest while. IFLOT graduate. We still in search of the university. And the funny thing is that when you call them out for this level of stupidity, when you call them out for this level of madness, they believe as though you're attacking them personally. They believe as though you are against them in all ways and forms. You gotta do what is right. If you can't do what is right, then don't go and do it. Don't go and embarrass us like that on the international scenery. Your head of state can't pronounce a word that is as simple as reparative, and you are supposed to sit and let it go and say absolutely nothing? What would the world think of Guyana? What would the world think of Guyanese? We don't have educated people. We don't have people that can speak properly, that can curl the tongue round the mouth. We don't have people that can do that. But I say to you again, and I want to reiterate it, what that man said today is testimony to the fact that it is the first time in his life he is using that word. It is testimony to the fact that it is the first time he is using that word. And it means that the sincerity, the authenticity, and the solidness of the statement he presented is one that comes into question. It is false what he said. He does not mean it. Because if he meant it, he would have gotten it correctly. You know, if Irfan becomes himself, he might as well be better than what he is. But he's forcing himself to be somebody he is not. He is trying to create an impression. He is trying to create an image. He is trying to create a position that is not himself. I know the fella. I used to live next to the fella in Lenora. I was in the government house and he was on the eastern side. And this that he's trying to create is false, fake. He has to be himself, and he can't help it. Or I don't know if there are people there that is pushing him to do what he cannot do. If he is allowed to be himself, then maybe you may see something better. But you see what has happened? You see what has happened? Oh my God. Like I can't get over that madness that happened there today. Honestly, I can't. And I don't think people can get over it easily. Something. Something. My people, Guyana is in serious trouble. Guyana is in serious trouble. Tonight's discussion was supposed to solely focus on COVID-19 and the installed Frank Anthony and the need for him to go peacefully because he has proven beyond all shadows of doubt how clumsy he is when it comes to managing the health sector. I got to get a good laugh. And I got to get a good laugh by bringing in my guests. Because I want my guests to help me understand what is reparative, reparapture, something. I want my guests to help me understand. So operator, send on my guest there. I have to get my guests to give me an understanding of I have to get my guests to help me understand.
Hi,
Help
yes,
me.
Ganesh. Ganesh wants his guest. Um, yes. No, we're not live. We're not live. Christopher Jones is coming up. But here's what we can do. No, we're not live. I'm not on television, so we can talk. But here's what we can do. After Irfan spoke, they had a big fight between the two of them. You know who the two we're talking about? This is what happened after Irfan spoke.
Christopher Jones, opposition chief
Good
whip.
evening, Ganesh. Good
Now, let
evening
me
to
make
you,
this very
Blue.
clear because I know my friend Panic Chan is going to screenshot our picture or whoever they have
Mhm.
from the People's Progressive Party that looks at all our programs, and then they're going to put a headline, opposition MP, your representatives, and this is what they do. But let me make it known to them that we are human beings and we are young and energetic and entitled to have fun at stupidity. So when you see
Yep.
stupidity, you must point out, laugh it, and tell them that they're stupid. You must do it.
Yep.
So, Chris, let me ask you this. Chris. Do you need reparative justice? Do you need reparative?
Oh my God.
What is your on what happened
Right. So,
at the United Nations?
well, just a few minutes ago, I was on the in the ring with Sharon and colleague David Patterson, and of course, the same question was asked about Irfan Ali at the United Nations. As I said there, and I said I'll say here now, is that essentially every time Irfan Ali is about to make a speech, worse over at one of these international forums, as Guyanese, you cringe as to what will be the words that will come out of his mouth. And today was no different. And tomorrow is what you would say is the main event. And if today was just the precursor of what is to come, I could imagine what is happening throughout the Guyanese here in Guyana and those in the diaspora. Because when you heard it, because essentially, the correction, you're not even so certain what exactly he was trying to say. Because even at the commencement of his presentation, he couldn't even pronounce the word contribution, right? And that was only on the side. We cringe because at the end of the day, he is on the world stage. And whether you're APNU, AFC, PDP, PNC, AFC, whatever, is that essentially this man is the flag carrier. And he carries the flag, the red, black, gold, white, and green. Therefore, he's representing the 83,000 square miles, the over 700,000 plus Guyanese, irrespective of our political persuasion. So to hear him and to think that not only you here in Guyana, but the entire world have seen, heard, and can go review, that clip is already in circulation across the Caribbean. And everybody's saying, here is the president of Guyana. And that in itself gives a false impression that this is Guyanese. Guyanese can't read, they can't pronounce, they can't speak, and so forth. It is a national embarrassment. As a Guyanese, I felt very embarrassed today. You could even see Bharat Jagdeo sitting next to him. When he turned and looked over, like, what the hell is this? You could see the expression there and too as well. But, yeah, I'll leave it there for now, Ganesh.
Chris, listen, listen. The man, oh, listen, he is not out in the time like this. You go, you take a little drink or something with your colleagues. You go and you meet up
Yeah.
with other heads of states, and you have a little sit down and sip and chat or what's that. He's not doing that. Right now, I
Okay.
bet my last dollar. Jagdeo has him in a room and he is
Mhm.
repeating his speech. He is
That's
repeating
right.
it. He is rereading it.
You can't sleep till you get it right.
Can't sleep until he gets it. And
Mhm.
he gonna make mistake because he gonna lack sleep and he gonna go on the world
Yeah.
stage and make mistake
And
because
of
they
course,
ain't giving him
he will be nervous as because of what happened today.
on a
That's correct.
serious on a
Mhm.
serious note. I made the point and I want to make it again. And I want you to tell me if you agree with it. And I want our viewers put aside the joke behind it and understand what I am going. You are the head of state of a nation, albeit installed. You are a Caribbean leader because Guyana can basically be considered in the Caribbean with the Caribbean. You know, if I become now our geographic location, Guyana control. But we are a part of the Caribbean. A
Correct.
Caribbean
That's correct.
leader
Hmm.
using the word the words reparative justice and can't pronounce
Hmm.
it is an
That's right.
indication that this is the first time in his life that he's using it.
Hmm.
Because
That's
if
correct.
he couldn't pronounce it, he would have gotten it correctly after using it
Yeah.
multiple times. And you
That's
cannot
right.
be a Caribbean
That's right.
knowing what African Guyanese went through, slavery and all the
No.
likes, and now you're using the word reparative justice that we exhort it, and you can't pronounce it. It means that your statement at the UN was never genuine. There is no sincerity in it. And you don't stand up. You don't genuinely want to stand up for reparative justice for the people who suffered at the hands of others. What is your take on that?
Comrade Mahipaul, I'll take this opportunity to remind you and your viewers it was Irfan Ali in his presentation or his speech to the nation on Arrival Day. And he said that all of the persons who came to Guyana came at their own free will, seeking betterment. And in that speech, Irfan Ali was referring to the slaves that was brought here. So that alone from his speech then tells the story. So that's why speaking at the UN on matters of reparation and so forth, he's not attached to it. He's disconnected to that. And you do not expect him, one could not expect him to be attached to that. And that is why he has the challenge. And that in itself speaks to the reality of what is happening in Guyana in terms of the treatment meted out to Guyanese of African descent. Under Irfan Ali's administration, Guyanese of African descent, it appears, have no right to the economic prosperity of this country. Under Irfan Ali's administration in Guyana, African Guyanese have no right for employment. They have no right for upward mobility. They have no right to economic prosperity. It is under Irfan Ali's administration in which you saw them unleash on African businessmen, such as Sivans and the land that he acquired there, such as Mr. Bradford from Cartier and the land that he acquired there. You saw no less than a person of the Attorney General Anil Nandalal left the comforts of his home in Georgetown and traveled to Kingley in the Mahika Borbis region and said to his supporters, all of which are East Indian Guyanese, that they must operate as if the land is theirs. And the land he was referring to happens to be ancestral lands belonging to Mr. Lincoln Lewis. That tells the story. That tells the story. Every day you read in this country the amount of Guyanese of African descent who are terminated from their places of employment under Irfan Ali's administration. And it is the same Irfan Ali on the occasion of Arrival Day said that all the people that came to this country came seeking betterment, including the African slaves that were brought here. So speaking of the United, I also remind your viewers about the vote that Guyana made at the United Nations not to support the calls made by the United Nations in that declaration then. So Irfan Ali speaking now, it's no different. That is what is expected. He's not attached to that. It is a dose of reality, if you ask me. Or in fact, I will say it is our ancestors that twist and tied and locked his tongue off. And that's why he made that faux pas there at the United Nations.
I hear you, Chris. I hear you, but I have to, because of time constraints that were understandably imposed upon me by the producers of this program, I have to move the discussion to another topic. And
Okay.
wanted to really spend the entire hour on this reparative justice. Listeners, viewers, it is reparative. Reparative justice.
I'm pleased to participate
That is what we need.
in today's commemoration. Guyana is committed to gaining international reparations for the crime of African enslavement. Reparative justice must.
My God. Listen, but I mean, when I heard about what happened and when I saw the video, right? I mean, as I said before, and even now, apart from the political divide, as a Guyanese, I am embarrassed. I am embarrassed. And you could even look on the face of Barrett Jagnew that sat there. He looked like he wanted to give the man 2 slaps. Perhaps he got it just after they left that venue. Tomorrow is the main event.
The operator showed us what happened after, right? Mr. Jones, let me tell you this. My intention was really to spend the entire hour on this reparative discourse, reparative justice. But due to time constraints understandably imposed on me, we have to move the discussion to another issue. And there are 2 other issues I want to touch on. And definitely COVID is one. But before I go to COVID, I want to talk about the cash grants and accountability and transparency within them. Now, there are about 3 cash grants that were given out to the people of this country after it was approved in the National Assembly, of which you and I are members of, and we agreed that the cash grants were necessary. And that is the COVID cash grant, the 25,000 COVID cash grant, the education cash grant. The education cash grant was $15,000 per child, and it included an additional $4,000, which is the uniform allowance. And we also had the farmers cash grant, which is really the grant that's given to the farmers who lost during the flooding. Now, the education cash grant at first was only for public schools, and I remember a number of parents from the private school made contact with me, and on a program similar to this, I raised that concern months ago as to why is it that the private schools are not considered. And we cannot draw the conclusion from our assumption that only rich people go to private schools, because you may very well have teachers who are teaching at these private schools, and they have their children going there. They are not rich, but they are working, teaching, and they are working there. So they would take their children with them, and obviously there are circumstances where the owner would give them a reduction in the cost because of their to school. You have cleaners that are there also. They have the children going. And we naturally have poor people who believe in the private school system and they sacrifice immensely and heavily into getting their children into private school because they believe that it is a better environment as opposed to the public school. So after much representation, I am happy that the installed regime has reconsidered and that they are now going to give private school and private school children a cash grant. But my problem, Mr. Joseph, is that there are a number of or several parents who have not gotten a cash grant from the public school. And regardless of the amount of advertisement and regardless of the amount of whatever the Ministry of Education did in terms of getting these people to collect their money, there are still people who have to get their money from the public school system. And there are various circumstances surrounding why they could not have got it. And I am saying that the real manager needs to recognize that systems can be put in place to ensure that every child gets their education. And in Region 3, for example, I'm not sure if it is 190 plus 135 parents that are yet to receive their money because the mathematical breakdown that she provided, round one shows a shortage of 198 school children, and round two shows a shortage of 135 school children that are still.
This time a long time, this time a long time, this not there before time. This time a long time, this time a long time, this not there before time. This time a long time, this time a long time, this not there before time. Long time got some long, long logi, now you got some bungalow. Long time got some long, long logi, now you got some bungalow. This time a long time, this time a long time, this not there before time. This time a long time, this time a long time, this not there before time. Long time got some dirty dam, now you got some concrete road. Long time got some dirty dam, now you got some concrete road. Long time.
Ganesh?
Chris, you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Much clearer.
Yeah, I think the feedback was coming from your end there. But you're hearing me better now.
Yes, I am hearing you better now.
Well, I trust our viewers are hearing us good also. So I was making the point that this cash grant distribution, this educational cash grant, the people need their money. Every child needs their money. And systems can be put in place to ensure that every child gets their money. The Ministry of Finance can ensure that happens in conjunction with the Ministry of Education. But I think that they are creating an avenue in terms of how they will steal the money. But let's talk about accountability for these monies. Let's talk about transparency and let's talk about audit. I am told, and I'm going to say it here tonight, I am told that Dr. Ashni Singh, who is the Minister of Finance, his wife is a senior person within the audit office. And it is she who sends out the auditors to go and do audits, especially on this COVID cash grant front and on this farmers cash grant front. Is that not a conflict of interest, Chris?
It is very much so from the inception. But if I can take you as far back as the COVID cash grant, Ganesh, and I just want to remind your viewers that the APNU AFC in the Parliament, we were advocating that the COVID cash grant to the Guyanese people should be nothing less than $100,000 for family. I want to put that out there from the inception. And essentially, we also seek assurance from the PPP that there is transparency and accountability in the distribution of the COVID cash grant. Lo and behold, we saw throughout the entire process that you had blatant political and racial discrimination in terms of who gets and who does not get, who gets an easy pass in terms of just producing a national identification card or a valid passport and receiving same, to others who had to literally jump fence, leap and bound, and produce certain documents that they own the premises and all of that. And we saw that throughout the length of the breadth of the country. We had persons who give testimonies. They were carried in the daily newspapers. They were carried on the news feed as well as it relates to that. We saw Irfan Ali made a pronouncement during the 2020 period that as a result of the information, the same information that he has been receiving, is that he's going to seek the Auditor General's office to conduct an audit as it relates to that. The leader of the opposition wrote or asked the question in the parliament of the Minister of Finance, wanting to know when will this audit commence. We were then told that the audit office is independent, is impartial, and they operate on their own timeline, and not they're not bound by any minister or ministry. To date, almost 1 year after, we have heard absolutely nothing about the commencement of an audit as it relates to the COVID cash grant. But this is typical PPP modus operandi. The minute that there is an outcry, whether it's related to discrimination or whatever the case be, they come out and they make fancy speeches and statements to quell the crowd. And of course, they play those statements and those sentiments up to the international community that after there was an outcry, this is what we did. But the reality is that nothing happens thereafter. And then we moved into the school grant. There again too, we spoke at length. Our MP spoke at length. We did not, and we still do not agree that $15,000 plus a $4,000 uniform voucher is sufficient. And we were recommending in this COVID period that, as opposed giving physical cash to parents, what the admin should have done is continue on the platform that was set up, that was built by the APNU AFC under the stewardship of Minister Kathleen Hughes, in which you create a series of internet hubs across the length and breadth of the country. You had several community centers, you had the marketplace, you had schools that receive internet. And they were in the process, the APNU AFC that is, in purchasing hundreds of thousands of tablets that you can simply give to students during this COVID period, which will facilitate them at home learning. Because as it stands now, you have well over 180 something thousand students that don't have access to smart devices. They don't have access to the internet, but they are currently at home and they are expected to be part of home learning or school learning from home. And it's not the reality. They haven't set up the infrastructure. Now, the reality in this country is that the cost of living is soaring every single day. The basic commodities you can't purchase in the marketplace, every single thing. And I'm talking from the basic, a head of garlic or shallot, celery, boro, plantain, pumpkin, you name it, all of those prices have increased. So when you give a parent or parents $15,000 physical cash, they now will have to make a hard decision. Do I take this $15,000, which is inadequate, and purchase a cheap tablet, which would cost me about $11,000 or $12,000, or do I take this money and purchase bread and a tub of butter to feed my children? Those hard realities. You have over 2,000 public servants, predominantly of which are African Guyanese, who have been dismissed by the People's Progressive Party Civic. And they are home, many of which are the sole breadwinners of their home. And now they have to make a decision. I have this $15,000 cash, which is supposed to be used for my child's education. But at the same time, I owe rent, which is due, and the rent is either $35,000, $45,000, or $50,000. Or I owe the Guyana Power and Light. I am in arrears. What do I do? Do I put food on the table? Do I pay to keep the roof over my head? Do I pay to keep the electricity on? And those very hard decisions parents across the length and breadth of this country have to make. And this is as relates to just $15,000. And that is why the APNU AFC said then, and we continue to say, is that those monies would have been best spent if the administration used the resources and purchased hundreds of thousands of tablets, continue on the platform that the APNU started on in terms of creating the internet hubs across the country, including the hinterland regions, and have all of those students who are home during this pandemic have access to online education. That was what we said, and we continue to hold fast to that position. Now we are at the farmers cash grant. We know that across the country, due to the flooding, a lot of our farmers, cash crop, as well as seasoned farmers, have lost a lot, and they need to get their foot back on the ground. So we welcome those grants being given to them. But when you speak about massive corruption as it relates to this, it dates back to the bosom of the People's Progressive Party Civic. In every policy program, every infrastructure development that is about to be had in this country, the first thing the People's Progressive Party Civic does is identify where in which they can make money, where they can siphon off money, where they can get the boys richer, who they could identify to be the beneficiaries of some of these contracts and programs. That is a reality. I can share with you, as I have been doing on my Facebook page, the Mahipaul Borbis region, as well as East Kanji. Those farmers there, you have bona fide farmers who have been planting for years, and to date they have not received a single cent. When they put their names, the person's turn up at their home, they take photograph, they take the names are placed on a list. When that list or the final list is published, when they go and check those lists, their names have mysteriously dropped off. And then you heard recordings in which you had NDC's officials, PPP official, party activists who had responsibility to comprise such a list. You hear them calling friends on the phone and say, "Here, I will put your name down. You will get $200,000, but 100,000 belongs to me." It is that blatant. It is that blatant. And whereas you have bona fide cash farmers who had not received any of the money because the name continuously is being dropped off from the list. And that is why I speak about both racial and political discrimination. And when I say political discrimination, let me emphasize, there are a lot of East Indian farmers and likewise East Indian Guyanese across the length and breadth of the country who are supporters of the APNU AFC. And as a result of being a supporter of the APNU AFC, they have been discriminated against and their names dropped off. I could bring at any time, in fact, a farmer I spoke with over the weekend, he reached the point in which he said, "Chris, listen, I ready to go public. I ain't got nothing more to lose. They don't take away my contract," because he's a contractor as well. They don't take away my contract. I'm planting rice. I can show you my acres upon acres upon acres of rice that I've lost. My name went on the list. The first list was published. His name mysteriously disappeared. He made a petition. They took his name back again. And when the second list was published, lo and behold, his name has been omitted again. And that is what we talk about, the racial and political discrimination in this country. Saving Upself, as I mentioned before, Ganesh, in every program in which the PPP puts together, whether it's infrastructure or these cash grants, the first thing they do is figure out a way in which they can make money, that they can siphon off money. And when you look at the address to the United Nations just today by President Joe Biden, his presentation there is very instructive. And just before the duration of this program, I'll pull it up and I'll read an excerpt from it. But essentially, he says that the United States have noted across the world the discontent of people who are speaking about their governments enriching their friends and their cronies, and which the people of the country can't get access to the basic thing to feed their family. It is in Joe Biden's speech to the United. It is so instructive. For me, as a politician in Guyana, it is almost like Joe Biden heard us, heard all that we spoke of, the discrimination and all of that in this country, and Joe Biden was essentially speaking to me. That's how I felt today when I heard his address. And I'll invite your viewers. It is on my page. They can go to my page and read that. It is like Joe Biden was speaking to the people of Guyana, that we heard you. We know what is happening in your country. That's how I felt today.
Chris, I can't put it better. I cannot put it better than how you have put it there. And I'm happy that you have elaborated to the extent that it is necessary for our people to go and listen or to go and read, whichever one they prefer, and familiarize themselves with what was said. Chris, I'm looking at the time, and we will not finish at 10. You and I, as a matter of fact, will finish at 10 because we have something more important to deal with politically, which I cannot share with everyone here. But I would like to tell our viewers that when the two of us are finished, of course, Mr. Mark Benchcop will come on and he will continue from where we would have left off. But I cannot leave without touching on the COVID-19 pandemic and Frank Anthony. Frank is trying to prank us. That is what I oftentimes say. And I'm believing it even more now because of what COVID is doing to Guyana. Imagine the CDC is advising that traveling to Guyana is bad. That is where we are with COVID-19. Hundreds of people are tested positive on a daily basis. We have schools that were forced to open their doors, no sanitization mechanism in place, no care package that is of a proper and significant weight to our children. People are being tested positive after they go to the school environment, and the schools are forced to close a second time. And I said to Priya Manikchan, I can't remember if it was directly or via Facebook post, but I said, Priya, would you not consider sending the children to school in casual outfit? And there was a reasoning behind that thought. Because you are going into a testing period where you are trying to experiment if this thing will work. Why do we want to put parents in an additional burden to go and pay a tailor or seamstress to sew uniform? And when school reopen, you don't know if you will continue along that line. The school going to close again. The children going to grow out the uniform and the money gone to waste. So why don't we just use the casual uniform or casual wear, I should say. Why don't you use the casual wear as the start? So when you do have an informed and pronounced and permanent decision, then you can go right ahead and go back to the uniform basis. It fell on deaf ears. Look what is happening now. You're seeing nurses being locked out. You're seeing doctors being locked out. You're seeing that there are people that can't go here, there, or everywhere for any kind of service without this blue book. And an MP would have put it nicely under the David Granger administration, Chris. We had the 5Bs. We had boats, bicycles, boats, breakfast, buses. And under the PPP, we got the 3Bs, the blue book bullies. 3Bs, blue book bullies. Chris, talk to us about COVID-19 and what is really going on in Guyana with COVID-19.
All right. Thank you, Ganesh. I do hope that your viewers don't view my comments as being callous, repugnant, or distasteful. But essentially, in terms of the numbers of death and the amount of persons who are been infected with COVID-19 here in Guyana, I blame it squarely at the feet of the People's Progressive Party, Civic, and more so Frank Anthony. And that is why, like the APNU AFC in the submission to the National Assembly, that Frank Anthony should resign, should go. I think that call should be made even louder now. I take you back and your viewers back to when the APNU was in office. And this is when we had patient zero and this was in the month of March. And of course, we took immediate steps to curb the infection rate in the country. Guyana was the first, and I think a lot of persons don't realize this. Guyana was the first country in the Caribbean that actually closed schools. Guyana, we took the lead, and essentially you saw many Caribbean countries then followed Guyana after that period. We had public servants who were placed on rotation. Only if you are, only if you are probably at a supervisory or a managerial level, you are required to go into the office. The other junior staff in the public service were allowed to stay home. We had imposed the curfew from 6 to 6. You had the restriction on large events, activities at church, and so forth throughout. And we had essentially kept the number of infection extremely low for the months that we were there. Income, and then of course you had challenges, because the first thing the APNU AFC did is recognize that COVID-19 does not discriminate. COVID-19 doesn't care whether you APNU AFC PVP, PNC, whatever. COVID-19 affects all of us. And in setting up the national task force to address these issues of COVID-19, the APNU AFC administration sent to the People's Progressive Party Civic, inviting them to be part of the national task force, because we recognize that the APNU AFC have its constituents, and likewise, the People's Progressive Party Civic have their constituents. And both sides, your constituents essentially listen to you, their leaders, for guidance. And that is why we saw the importance of having a national approach, a national front to deal with COVID-19. The People's Progressive Party Civic never took up that role as being part of the task force that was set up by the APNU AFC. In fact, what they did is that they set up their own parallel task force. And then there were even pronouncements and statements from the leadership of the PPP, inclusive Bharat Jagdeo and Irfan Ali, that COVID-19 is a hoax. They said to their supporters that the APNU AFC was using COVID-19 to stay in office, and it's nothing more than a hoax. I take you now to when the PPP was installed in office. Having told their supporters that COVID-19 is a hoax and it was being used by the APNU AFC to remain in office, their supporters latched on to that. So when they were installed in office, their supporters took to all of the measures that were imposed, restricting them. They opened everything. You had bars and nightclubs who were celebrating the arrival of the People's Progressive Party across the length and breadth of the country. And we saw within a month and a half, you saw the infection rate started to increase. The PPP removed the 6 to 6 curfew and given rum shops and a lot of these clubs and so forth free scope to do whatever they want, and the numbers continue to increase. You saw at the very cabinet meeting that they had, they were all sitting clustered together. And then lo and behold, you heard Todd and Onish Waldron were COVID positive. So there was no leadership from the People's Progressive Party Civic since then, since they were in opposition to coming into office as it relates to COVID-19. You have the numbers spiraling out of control. The PPP has opened everything in Ghana. Ghana is essentially an open sepulcher, as the locals will say. Ghana is an open sepulcher. All of the airports are open. People coming from Venezuela, from Brazil, across the border, whether it's backtrack, front track, or whatever the case be. The World Health Organization a few weeks ago pronounced that one of the variants, Delta variant, has been detected in Ghana. When that question was brought to Frank Anthony, he could not provide an answer. He said he was unaware. Then you saw the death toll rise. Within the last 20 days, there have been over 100 plus persons who have died from COVID-19, and you had well over about 1,500 new infection cases. Now you have the CDC recently pronounced, I think as recent as yesterday, they pronounced a travel advisory to all and sundry that Guyana is a COVID hotspot. And if you have no real reason to travel to Guyana, don't. And if your reasons are very important, you ensure that you're fully vaccinated. But even still being vaccinated, you could contract COVID-19. Guyana does no contact tracing. I don't care. I challenge Frank Anthony or the Ministry of Health to confront me to say otherwise. But I'm saying that currently in Guyana, there is absolutely no contract tracing whatsoever. That is completely out of hand. There is persons who we are told are on home isolation. That is on paper. The reality is that persons who are infected with COVID-19 continues to go about their daily business every single day like it's norm. They travel in the public transportation, whether it's a taxi or a minibus or the water taxi. Some of them so fearful that they don't even reveal their COVID status to their supervisors or their managers. So they continue to go to work. And it's only when you have a huge outbreak in that particular workspace, then you know that somebody there was infected or is infected with COVID-19. I bring you now to the Sputnik V vaccine. The APNU AFC is on record in the National Assembly in the public domain that any vaccine that are brought that are being shot in the arms of Guyanese must be WHO approved. And then lo and behold, we had the introduction of Sputnik V. I remind your viewers that we were in a period of hiatus, of which there was no sitting of the National Assembly for about 3 months. Was it that 94 days thereabout? No sitting of the National Assembly, because after the PPP got the 2020 budget, when they got the monies in the coffers, they shut down Parliament and they went on a spending spree. And essentially, you had no opportunity to pose any of the critical
They went on
questions.
a thieving spree too, not only a spending spree, a thieving spree too. Continue.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And you had no opportunity to pose any questions to the relevant minister as it relates to these vaccines after 3 months. The leader of the opposition posed the question to Frank Anthony, several members of parliament as well. Is the Sputnik V vaccine WHO approved? And Frank Anthony gave 3 different answers on the same occasion as it relates to that. And then, of course, you had the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, because his people were saying that, look, Ghana is using Sputnik V. Why aren't we having Sputnik V? And it's when Prime Minister Rowley made the pronouncement that Ghana has taken a different course of action from all of our Caribbean brothers and sisters. And they have taken a vaccine that is not approved by the World Health Organization. And you saw the behavior of the PPP to Trinidad and Tobago, even to this day, because of that pronouncement by Dr. Keith Rowley. Then, lo and behold, we learn again that the source of these vaccines that we were told by the PPP that they came from Russia. And lo and behold, we learned that these vaccines came from a middleman, the Sheikh. And when the Sheikh was in this country, you had them parading him by various mosques and so forth. And we were told that he's exploring business opportunities here in Ghana. That is how deceptive the People's Progressive Party civic. That is how they behave. That is the nature of the beast. Mark Benchcap can tell you about the nature of the beast because he experienced them firsthand. The leader of the opposition is on record after learning that immediately Guyana should suspend the use of Sputnik V vaccine. He said that months ago. And the PPP and all of the cronies jumped on the bandwagon. And they were championing PPP that, yeah, everybody got to get Sputnik V. Don't worry with Harman and all of that. And mind you, the leader of the opposition, Mr. Joseph Harman, like several of our MPs, have Sputnik V in their system. And he made that call that we should suspend the use of Sputnik V vaccine, noting the World Health Organization has not approved this vaccine, noting that the vaccine were procured through a middle source. Last week, Friday, the World Health Organization met, and amongst other things that they discussed included Sputnik V vaccine. And they have not granted Sputnik V vaccine the go-ahead. And therefore, the over 100,000 plus Guyanese who currently have been injected with the Sputnik V vaccine cannot travel to Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Canada, just to name a few. And the United States, as I mentioned, does not recognize Sputnik V vaccine. And as of November this year, they will then bring forward their travel ban on persons who are unvaccinated, and those persons who are vaccinated with the Sputnik V, they do not recognize it. So you will not be able to travel to the United States. Therefore, all of those persons have to go and get revaccinated with another brand other than Sputnik V vaccine. Noting that we have vaccine hesitancy because of all of the information that is out there. Apart from the misinformation, the mere way in which the vaccines have been procured and the manner in which the People's Progressive Party Civic operates, people don't trust the PPP. That is the reality. And a lot of the vaccine hesitancy that we're seeing in the country is simply because people don't trust the People's Progressive Party Civic. That is the reality. Now, with vaccine hesitancy, all of the misinformation that is out there, now for you to go and say to 100,000+ Guyanese that the Sputnik V vaccine that we PPP give you, you got to go and get a new vaccination now, or else you can't travel to none of these countries. Speak about vaccine hesitancy. And that is the situation we have in this country, Ganesh. That is the situation. So Guyana, like many other countries who have been working towards herd immunity, and we were told that some 400,000+ Guyanese would have already taken the vaccine. Now you have to minus 100,000+ who have the Sputnik V as being nothing. So we are nowhere closer to reaching herd immunity as we were 2 weeks ago. That is the reality that we have.
Chris, I can't put it better. I honestly can't put it better. And probably if we did not have this 10 o'clock meeting, which we are already late for, I would have entertained a lengthier discussion. But I want us to close by accepting, and our viewers will endorse by saying, yes, it is true in the comment section. And that is that Frank Anthony is a national embarrassment to this country. Frank Anthony has to be a quack doctor. And Frank Anthony has failed this nation miserably. And Frank Anthony must go. He's an embarrassment. Christopher Jones, I trust you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, in closing, Ganesh, I wanted to just add to what you just said. And as I said before, I hope my expression isn't taken as callous, repugnant, and distasteful. But also, Frank Anthony is responsible for the deaths of over 700 of our citizens due to his mishandling of COVID-19 and due to the PPP's modus operandi as it relates to the COVID in general.
Well said, and I agree with what you said. He is responsible for the death of all those Guyanese people whom I believe would have gone too soon. But I say to you, my brother, and I say to all our viewers, as we spread the word, the coalition coming back. And we're going to take back this country, and we're going to continue from where we have left off in providing the good life and a better life for all Guyanese. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Christopher Jones. Thank you very much for joining me. But don't go nowhere, viewers. Mark Benchcop is on. Thank you.
I'm pleased to participate in today's commemoration. Guyana is committed to gaining international reparations for the crime of African enslavement. Reparative justice must not only include a full and unconditional apology from those responsible and or who benefited from the transatlantic trade in captive Africans and their consequent enslavement must go beyond apology. In this regard, Guyana will continue to support the efforts being made within the Caribbean community to press for the convening of an international summit to demand reparative justice for the victims of the transatlantic slave trade.
Oh, Guyana, Guyana. Oh, Guyana, oh, Guyana, oh, Guyana, where you turn to?
Sorry about that. We've got to start all over again. Just don't go anywhere. You see, we have some very impurport. We have some very impurport. Sorry, we have some very some very important listeners, right? Important listener. So some folks probably thought that, hey, I was coming on a different link. No, we're not on a different link. We're on the same link. A continuation, of course, of the Ganesh Mahipaul's show. Don't rush, don't go anywhere. This is a very important show this evening. Don't forget tomorrow morning, right? Bright and early at the United Nations. The United Nations, they will be protesting against Irfan Ali's installed regime. Again, Irfan Ali, program. Now, just give me a quick check that you guys are actually hearing me loud and clear. Some people are saying that they're not hearing me. Some are saying that they are hearing me. I don't know. You guys tell me what's going on. Are you hearing me or... Sorry. Are you guys hearing me or not? I just want to hear yes. Somebody says yes. Paul Henry says yes. It is very... It is important. It's important. It's important that you guys hear me loud and clear. Tag a couple of friends and let them know that we're back on. Great show, Ganesh Mahipaul. Great show along with the Chief Whip, Christopher Jones, the honorable members of Parliament. And I'm now warming up, so to speak, right? I'm warming up. Good evening to Barrett Jack here. We know it is important for them to watch these type of shows. And if you noticed, a lot of them are crying, they're complaining about social media and about the shows and so forth and so on. Gosh, this is lovely. It's driving them insane. All of the shows driving them insane because the consistency matters, right? I was reading a book not so long, and this book here, take a look at this. You see? Take a look at this book. Ancient technology. Get a copy of this book. It's really, really good. Give Irfan Ali a copy of this book. Look, follow me, because it's important that you learn to read and write. I'm not insulting my listeners. I'm not insulting you guys at all. Ancient technology. There we go. Ancient technology, right? Pick up a copy of that book. You would love it. Ancient technology. You've got to give Irfan Ali some credit. And look, I'm on the guy's side. I'm not going to bash him this evening because people do make mistakes. And I see some of the comments of people saying that people do make mistakes. Of course, this is not the first mistake. It is not the second mistake. It's not the third mistake.
It's not the fourth or the fifth. He constantly is making these mistakes. And I don't know what the heck. What do you guys want us to do? Feel sorry for him? He's been making, in fact, the truth is, since he has been installed as president of Guyana, it has been the biggest mistake ever. All right, don't forget tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Start heading down, or of course you should be there at the United Nations headquarters. The protest is going to be on First Avenue and 47th Street. You can't miss it. First Avenue and 47th Street. I know a lot of you thought that I may probably start another link, but I told and I asked Ganesh permission to continue on his link. So it is still the Ganesh Mahipaul show. So let us break this thing down. This is exactly what happened. After the speech, whatever speech is it that we're talking about, Irfan Ali, after that little speech, Jack Dale dealt, well, I don't know whether it's Jack Dale or whatever, but there was a little fight thereafter. And it's a shame and a disgrace to see the fighting that happens, especially in international arena and so forth. And we will just take a quick break so that you can see that fight. The fight that happened right after Irfan Ali made that speech, whatever it is he wants to call it, a speech or not. This is something that's very serious. And if any one of you laugh, I will just have to have my friend who gave a prayer earlier that confused everything at the United Nations. I hope she sends another prayer. We want to hear from her. She has to pray. But this is what happened after. I'm not going to call names. I'm not going to say who is who, but you're free to say who is who in this little fight that happened after Irfan Ali did that embarrassing speech, made that embarrassing speech at the United Nations. Mind you, tomorrow morning, he makes that, his inaugural speech at the United Nations. God in heaven knows what that is going to be like. But after he made that big blunder today, somebody told me something happened between two persons. It's up to you to decide who those two persons are. Not for me to decide that. It's for you to decide that. Again, nobody should be going and saying that Ben Shap said that the donkey is X or the pig is Y. I've never said that. It's up to you guys to decide who is who and what really happened there. That's all I'm saying. Look, let's get to this quick prayer. There's going to be a continuation of the confusion tomorrow. It's a bit long, but we will cut it whenever necessary. I want you to hear the prayer from my friend. She's now my friend, Miss Perry, right? Because prayers do move mountains and people become confused. I want you to listen to this here. Please do listen to it.
Lord God, we give you glory, we give you honor, we give you praise, oh God. We come against every plan, plot, scheme of the enemy in and through our life, oh God. Lord God, we send confusion in the enemy camp tomorrow at the United Nations. Rabba Kotroyandra, Baba Kotroyandra. Lord God, take predominance, Holy Spirit. You take place, oh God. Holy Spirit, I plead the blood of Jesus, every crack, every crease, every corner of the United Nations tomorrow, Rabba Kutroyandra. I send confusion in the enemy camp, Rabba Kutroyandra. Your enemies are my enemies, oh God. You said in Psalm 68:1 Let God arise and your enemies be destroyed by fire. Lord God, I bind principality, powers, rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places. Lord God, you know the wickedness has taken place in Guyana. You told me, oh God, that you're going to destroy the wicked plans of the enemy over our nation, oh Rabba Kutroyandra. Lord God, go before us, oh Rabba Kutroyandra. Send your fire, send your confusion in the enemy camp. Rabba Kutroyandra, Baba Kutroyandra, Baba Kutroyandra. You rule and reign in all the earth, Rabba Kutroyandra. Lord God, you saved me for such a time as this. The most prayer warrior in the world, Rabba Kutroyandra. My prayer shall touch nations, Rabba Kutroyandra. Lord God, execute your judgment against the wickedness in Guyana, Rabba Kutroyandra. I send confusion, Rabba Kutroyandra, Baba Kutroyandra, Baba Kutroyandra, Baba Kutroyandra. Every plan of the wicked, Rabba Kutroyandra. Tomorrow the UN, oh God. Lord God, I'll be there in spirit and in truth. Rama Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra. Greater is he that is in me than he that's in the world. Romans 8:31. If you is for me, Rama Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra. Lord God, I thank you for teaching me the greatest prayer warrior in the world. Rama Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra. I exalt you, I magnify you, I big you up, oh God. I thank you for what you're about to do in the nation of Guyana, oh God. Rabba Kuturayandra Baba Kuturayandra. Send confusion at the enemy camp tomorrow. Rabba Kuturayandra Baba Kuturayandra. Rabba Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra. Every plot, plan, scheme of the enemy, Rabba Kuturayandra Mama Kuturayandra. Every devious vendetta against blacks in Guyana, Rama Kuturayandra. Rama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. Black Lives Matters around the world, Rama Kuturayandra. In Guyana, Rama Kuturayandra. Lord God, bring the plans of the wicked to end, oh God, Rama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. Psalm 7:9. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked, Rama Kuturayandra, come to and establish it just for the righteous. Rabba Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. Take predominance, Rabba Kuturayandra. Cover the entire UN with the blood of Jesus. Send confusion in the enemy camp. When they think it's peace and safety, sudden destruction will come unaware. Rabba Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. Rabba Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. There is power in the name of Jesus to break every chain over Guyana. Rabba Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra. Rama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra, Mama Kuturayandra.
All right. It's a long, long prayer. Long prayer indeed. You guys got the message, right? You guys got the message indeed. It is no mockery or whatever. But if those folks can put boots on the ground, they will be spiritual boots all over. We are seeing the confusion. Lots and lots of confusion. It started today. It is not going to end. Seriously, it is just not going to end. A friend of mine said that that speech today, parts of that speech was actually plagiarized. Part of that speech by Irfan Ali was actually plagiarized. And if you Google it, you'll see. And some folks may have already started that on social media. I think on Guyana Truth and Fact and those other websites, those popular websites, you can see it. Lots and lots of plagiarism today. All right, so don't forget, tomorrow morning, there will be that protest in front of the United Nations headquarters. You've got to go down there. You've just got to go down there and continue. I see people are saying the fire, the spiritual fire is burning. And that's exactly what is driving these folks crazy, beyond crazy. All right, what else we can discuss before? I think Ganesh, Mahipaul, and Christopher Jones did a lot in terms of edifying you guys. Again, let us see here. People are more concentrating on what has happened there at the United Nations today, the biggest or one of the biggest embarrassment to all Guyanese, a huge embarrassment. I know how you guys feel about this. Don't look at it though as an embarrassment. It is exactly what happened. It is what was expected. You can't expect anything different, anything better at all. And I know Anil Nandalal might be laughing as well. Lots of others within the PPP are laughing as well because Irfan Ali happens to be the puppet of Bara Jagdeo. So when you look at Irfan Ali, everywhere you go now, you see Bara Jagdeo right up under him. Right up under him. You know, there's a soca that goes something like, I want my man under me all night. I want my man under me, make me feel right. Something like that. So when you see the two of them, that reminds me of that soca song, right? Well, not me, I want, but you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Our operator is actually signaling to me that we're having some slight technical problems in our studio. Well, what we will do, like I said, this is just a couple minutes with you because of this entire laughter, this thing, what is happening with Irfan Ali. This is just not a mistake. It is just who he is. And so when we see after the speech, the fights and so forth and so on, understand why they are fighting each other. All right, we will go to that speech now.
I'm pleased to participate in today's commemoration. Guyana is committed to gaining international reparations for the crime of African enslavement. Reparative justice must not only include a full and unconditional apology from those responsible and or who benefited from the transatlantic trade in captive Africans and their consequent enslavement, must go beyond apology. In this regard, Guyana will continue to support the efforts being made within the Caribbean community to press for the convening of an international summit to demand reparative justice for the victims of the transatlantic slave trade.
All right, quite an embarrassment there indeed. Lots of other things happened today in terms of the COVID-19. We know Frank Anthony isn't being frank with you guys. Lots of things they're pushing under the rug. 2 persons they declared, mind you, they declared that 2 persons have died today of the coronavirus. We all know that the number is higher than the 2, right? We know that there's a big problem with the Sputnik V. People have gotten 1 dose. They're still waiting for their 2nd dose. It is Frank Anthony who said that 80-something thousand 2nd dose, they're still awaiting that. Lots and lots of problems indeed. But our executive producer has signaled me that we have to cut the show as short as possible. I'm looking at some of your comments. I know you guys don't want me to go, but I really have to go. But it has been an embarrassing day, not to Guyana, not to Guyanese, but to Irfan Ali and his gang. In fact, to the PPP, the installed regime. Maybe next time our good friend, the U.S. ambassador, can take a look at that speech before, or even rehearse it with him, because speechwriters, good speechwriters, that is what they do. They sit with the individual, they go into the office and they say, take a look at this. Can you read it? Let me see your tone. Let me see how your pitch is going to be, your volume, and these sort of things. You just don't write a speech and give it to somebody on the very day that they have to read that speech. And that's exactly what has happened there with Irfan Ali. I don't think that they have an understanding as to how to run a government. And so maybe next time they need to rehearse instead of embarrassing Guyana, embarrassing, well, they don't have any shame or whatever. Somebody's saying Vanessa Hackett is saying this still can't read. That might be the point. Yeah, that might be true. But have you noticed that Barrett Jackdale is up on the Irfan Alley every single where? Everywhere they go, every single way they go, that's it. Irfan Ali, Barrett Jagdev is up on the Irfan Ali. And so we're going to leave with this song here. We'll be back tomorrow. Definitely we'll be back. This song is dedicated to Irfan Ali and Barrett Jagdev as they prepare, as Irfan Ali prepares to make his virgin speech tomorrow, of which I'm sure will be another major embarrassment. If you're heading out to the United Nations headquarters tomorrow, be there for about 7:30, First Avenue and 47th Street. First Avenue and 47th Street. Listen to this song and you'll understand why Barrett Jagdev is always up on the Irfan Ali.
Miss you. I know I kiss you. Yes, me love you. Yes. I really don't understand why some people shun love and affection. Good loving is so hard to find, so when it comes by, don't treat it unkind. Not me, I'm complaining, we be only loving. I want the man run me day and night, kill me with love that is alright. I want the man up under me all night. I want the man up under me, up under me, and in the morning up under me, feeling right. Up under me, and in the evening up under me, hold me tight, baby. Up under me, 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 up under me. I'm the kind of woman who like to do everything with me, man. Yes. Sharing love in a special way, doing things together, side by side each day. Even when I'm cooking, in and out the kitchen, you always like to take some, put any hand inside. But I want me man up under me all night, up under me. I want me man up under me, treat me right, up under me. In the morning, up under me, feeling right, up under me. And in the evening.
All right, I guess the message is quite clear. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. Up under him, huh? Up under him. It's an embarrassment. Stop being up under him. By now, we got the message. I've got to go. God bless you all. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow, 7:30 or 8 o'clock at the United Nations headquarters. And then there's another surprise or another visit to another agency out there in Manhattan tomorrow. Lots and lots of surprise. We will carry it, those events live right here on 107.1 FM as well. God bless you. Until tomorrow morning, we will carry the protest live right here, starting from 8 o'clock, 8:15, I believe, on 107.1 FM. So long.
It's hard to be at peace with the ones who are so discard. It's hard. Them have a knife in your back and them smile it so broad. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. I never want to take your glory, Lord. Send your angels to encamp around about me and stand guard. To envy is so easy and to love it is so hard. Let me work for your glory and not for the award. to make me ever get caught up in a the scream and the applause. And go talk about the blessing and not talk about the Lord. All these things are vanity. I need your reward. Let me be real. Don't put on no facade. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them. Give me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. God, the booby traps with them set is real. Sticks and stones can break my bones, and words can harm me. They can harm me. When the evil come against me, you'll protect me. You'll protect Father, I need the strength of your son, cause you know my work is not done. Lord, I need that endurance just to finish this race that I run. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. And help me to deal with the fans them. Kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. God, the booby traps with them set is real. You tell me if you stand firm, cause every little plan you have a confirm. I know them evil plan turn. In a darkness, me a the lantern. So help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Jesus, help me to deal with the fans them. Kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. God, the booby traps with them set is real. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them.